Hello everyone, welcome to the third video in the series Excel case study. Today we are going to complete the Excel automation case study which we have seen in the last video last week. Let's quickly recap what we have covered in the last video of Excel automation case study. So first we have seen at the final solution what we are trying to achieve here. So this is a dashboard where I can select the process name and with which I can populate the details for that process like the due dates, the interval, the service type, the main service type you can say. And based on that, whoever client applied for that particular service type is listed over here in a dynamic way. So this is our final solution. So if I say for example I select yearly income tax, the main service type is income tax, and if I go to client master, we have created this helper column to mirror the applicability column of that particular service type which is currently present in C6 of dashboard. So you can see the income tax column is mirrored over here in the helper column currently. So if I change it to yes, for example, it will keeps on changing in the helper column. So with which we have achieved the dynamization. In the terms of features, what we have covered till now is from this reference table we have created the dynamic named ranges which is used in the data validation. So we have seen in detail how we can create a dynamic range with offset formula so that our drop downs when we do it with data validation is also dynamic. That is one part we have covered in the last video. Then we have created this due date master list where we have process name, its deadline and the main service type. And then we have the client's data and mainly their applicability for various service types. And we have created this helper column with the help of this helper cell which do nothing but it says us which column to mirror. So currently it's 11th column which we have to mirror. You can count from here and you will see is the 11th column we need to mirror it currently from the dashboard. It's a dynamic thing, so if you change it to like say for example weight, and you can see now it's the previous column, that is 10th column which needs to be mirrored here. So with this helper column what we have done is we have created this array formula which we are going to see in now in detail, and it uses this helper column as a base to list down the unique list of clients who opted for weight services. So this is just a glimpse of what we have seen in the last video. Let me start a new sheet and let me call it as a demo dashboard, and in that let me create the dashboard from scratch for you. So first thing I want the user to do is to be able to select a process name from a drop down. So let's create it. So I will write process name, and in the next cell I will go to data and data validation, and I will say the source which is the name range we just created in the last video dynamically for the process names. So that name range I have called process name, and I will click OK. So now it will have the ability to select any process from this due date master. So as soon as I enter a new service, say for example XYZ service, it will be available in the drop down because it's a dynamic name range. You can see I can enter as many services as I want, and it will keep on adding in the drop downs. So this is it. Now if I select any process name, I want to fetch the related data for due date as well as main service type as well. So what I will do is I will go to due date master and copy this heading from here and transpose it over here. Now I will write simple VLOOKUP formula. So my lookup value is the process name in here, whatever is selected, and my table array is nothing but the entire due date master table. And my column which I want to fetch data from is whatever is in the second column in that table array. So I will write 2. By that we have derived the date corresponding to that particular process name. Now let me freeze the process name reference in here so it doesn't change. And if I have to copy this formula down below, what I have to do is I have to go in and change the column number reference to 3 and like that. But what if I have a long formula and a long list of data to be fetched? So I would give you a trick for that. So instead of writing a column number reference directly, what I can do is I can write a count A formula. You can say range as the data headings and I will freeze B2. Because when I copy this formula to the next cell, what I want is I want B2 to be the constant and instead of B3 I want B4. So there is result is 3. So let's see what happens when we do this. And if I copy this formula down below, it will give the correct result because it expands the range for count A automatically. So these are the tricks you have to learn to automate your process and make it easier to update. So this was a minor tweak to the VLOOKUP formula you generally use for dynamically defining the column index with count A formula. We'll be using this more often in solutions we are going to see in the next videos. So we'll get a better idea about it. Okay, as we are building this process from scratch, my client master helper cell is currently referring to my old dashboard, but we are creating a new dashboard. So the cell which is referring to service type, main service type in main dashboard, I will change it to my new dashboard now. So you can see as soon as I select monthly TDS, the service type is TDS. In my client master, the 30th column, you can see 1313 column is currently mirrored in the helper column. So my helper cell is updated now to create this helper column dynamically from this demo dashboard. Now what I want is to list down the client which is opted for this particular service in cell C6. So I will bring the heading from here which I want to fetch, and I also want to write the comments for the status. So for organizer's name, I will use an array formula to list down all the values where helper column says yes. Where this helper column says yes, in this case is 5 of them. I want them to be listed down here with their corresponding data in a dynamic way. This is the hero of this solution, which is nothing but an array formula to fetch only those clients against where there is a yes in the helper column. I want you to master this formula with understanding the background logic, as it is the most powerful tool if you are trying to achieve automation. First, let us understand a simple non-automated way we can write a formula to achieve the result. So what I can do is I can write a simple index formula and try to achieve this in a non-dynamic way. So if I have to write it in a non-automated way, what I will write is index, open bracket. So it's asking me for an array. So my data is in here. I will select more cells to be able to expand this on a later stage. And I will select it from the cell A1 always. And I can manually see this is my array in which I want Excel to look. And I can manually say whenever it is yes, like in the third row, it's yes. So I can write 3 over here and close the bracket. So it will fetch from that range third value which I want because it's a yes. I have seen it and written the formula, but it's non-dynamic. It's not getting updated automatically. And the next value for which it's a yes is 5th row. So what I can do is I can paste that formula and write 5 instead of 3. So it will give me corresponding client name. Likewise, I can continue doing this for 6, 7 and 9. but it's a very ineffective way to do so. So what we can do is, instead of writing these three manually, if by any way I can write a dynamic formula to derive these three, then I can achieve my results. So you must have realized that by any way in my index formula, if I can define the row number, that is 3, which we have done in a static way, in an automated way, then I can achieve the dynamization. So before doing that directly, I want you to understand one concept, and then we will combine all these formulas which we are going to see now in one formula of an array formula. So what I can do is, I can have the row numbers listed in an array with the help of if formula, a simple if formula like this. So I can write if, for my logical test, I want to test if this first row in that column, in the helper column, is yes or no. So I can write if that particular cell is equal to yes, if that is yes, I want the row number of corresponding cell in column A. So I can write row, I can say A1. Okay. So if the first cell in column O is yes, then it will give me the row number of cell A1, that is 1. Otherwise, I don't want any answer, that is false. I press enter and I copy this formula down below up to, say, example 100 of them, or 150, let's say 150. So we got an array where we have, whenever it is yes, we have the row number like 3, 5, 6, 7 and 9, where the helper column has yes in it. Okay, so this is very simple. So from this, I can list down only the row numbers which have yes and ignoring the false in betweens. To do so, I can write a simple small formula like this, is equal to small, open bracket, is asking me for an array. So my array is ready here, and from that I want the first smallest value like this, and I can copy this down below. Let me freeze the range first, and I can copy this down below and edit the reference to 2, then 3 like this. But that is again an inefficient way to do so. So to automate this reference of k, what I can do is, I can write again a row formula referencing to the first cell in the A column. Okay, for next cell it will be 2, 3 like that. It's an indirect way to say 1, 2, 3 in a consecutive way. So if I copy this formula down below now, you can see all the row numbers which have yes has been listed consecutively now, ignoring the false in between 3, 5, 6, 7 and 9. And this num error we will come to in the later stage, how to avoid these num errors when we combine all the formulas in one. So with if and small, I can do something which can be incorporated in place of this 3 for row number in my index formula. So let us start writing index formula with the help of knowledge we just gained. So I will edit the formula and write small. So I am combining small and if now in one formula. So for array, instead of directly referring array with false and row numbers of yes, what I can do is I can define the array within this small function. Hope you understand that. We have covered this in the first video itself. So I can say if, open bracket. Now for my logical test, remember we have selected only one cell when we are doing it in a long way. But as we are writing an array formula, we can write an array to test. Means we can write a multiple values to test and give corresponding multiple values in an array formula. So to take advantage of that, instead of selecting only one cell, now I'll select the range. Okay. And if this range, let me freeze that. If this range has yes in it, sorry, I should write O here because our yes no is in O column. Okay, so that O column has yes in it, then we want row number of that corresponding A column. So we can select from here also the reference for O column and we can paste it and then modify it to A column. Okay, and we can close the bracket. Again close the bracket. So our if formula is ready. Now remember for K, instead of writing 1, 2, we have decided to write a row formula referring to the first cell of client master A column. And we are not freezing it because we want to change it every time in the next cell. So we close the bracket so that our small formula is ready. Small and if we have combined inside the index formula. So our row number we have defined indirectly with small and if combined. So now I can close bracket and press Ctrl Shift Enter. So my first name in that range has come here. I can drag this down below. Remember, the point to remember in array formula is all the arrays referred in that particular formula should be of the same size. Here we don't have the size match, so we are getting the problem. Also our reference to that array is not freezed. That's why we are having that errors. So I'll improve the formula, again press Ctrl Shift Enter and we can drag it down below. So what happened here is, let me delete this helper things we have just created for our learnings. So now the problem is we are getting errors once we have completed the years. So we have 5 years and we have all of them listed down here. And after that formula is showing an error. So to remove that we can bind this within an if error formula. So I can write if error open bracket for value. I can say take this entire formula result as value and go to end and press comma, and if it is error then I want nothing to be mentioned in the cell. Again I press Ctrl Shift Enter, and with this again improved formula I can drag down below up to 150 or whatever cells I want to list down for future use. Okay. So we are good with this formula now. So let us fetch the corresponding value for each client with the help of a simple VLOOKUP formula, and remember the tweak for column index reference. So let us write it is equal to VLOOKUP. We want to look up the value in the previous column, that is organizer's name we have created dynamically, comma. For array I will select the data from here, comma. For column index number I can write a dynamic reference with COUNTF formula. We have learned this in earlier formula. I can close the bracket. So that is my column index number reference, comma 0, close bracket. So I have written the formula. I want to give a proper freezing to it. So in this lookup value I want to freeze column B. For array I want to freeze it totally. No need to change rows or columns here. In here I want to freeze the first starting point of the range totally. And for rows I want to freeze rows as 9. I just want to change the ending range column to C to D to E likewise. So that is my complete formula. I can copy this formula entirely over all other columns and my data is fetched properly. Again, whenever the client is not there, it's showing me an error. So I can improve the formula by binding it with if error. For value, we have this entire VLOOKUP formula. Towards the end, we can write comma and we can write double quotes to say we don't want anything when there is an error in formula. I can copy this formula to entire cells. So see, our dynamization is completely ready. We can check it. So if I check yearly weight, there are 4 clients in it: ABC, GHI, PQR and STU. We can see in here, for weight we have 1, 2, 3, 4 clients, that is ABC, GHI, PQR and STU. We can add one more and see what happens. So now 5 is listed, or we can delete any one of them by saying no. So you can see we have achieved the dynamization we are looking with this array formula, which I have explained you in detail fundamentally. Till now we have covered the logic part mostly for the solution. Now we have to do some formatting and conditional formatting, and the macro to paste special to a new worksheet with a macro recorder, both of which we will cover in the next video so we can justify those areas properly. We can test our solution to see if it is working or not in the current state. It's just formatting, and some conditional formatting needs to make this look a better thing. So this was Syed Dhavalpaon, making you understand if you are doing a task more than once, you are doing it in a wrong way. Thank you.